Exploring the unknown, from conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Welcome everyone to this very special program. I'm your host, Aubrey Batchelor. Sailing this amazing ship of knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. It is yet time the creepy season has come upon us. We have our Halloween special for you. It's going to be a good one. Chris, this is probably my favorite episode of the year that we do, I would say overall. They're all special, don't get me wrong, but I think this is our third or fourth Halloween special now.
Oh yeah. I love doing the Halloween. I like Halloween more than Christmas, but the Christmas ones are good too. Yeah.
Yeah, those are grand. And then our New Year's prediction, that's always good, and they're all kind of they're consensual, they're right there next to each other. And but today we have cryptids on the menu, and it's going to be a creature feature. And that world is absolutely immense and insane in itself. We could talk about cryptids literally probably for like a month straight. Let's filibuster here. Let's make this political like everybody's making everything else political right now. Chris,
hmm
you and I are going to filibuster for a month straight on what is the most popular cryptid.
There you
There's
go.
no sleep for a month straight. We're
Uh,
going to filibuster about this.
yeah, and then we're gonna shut down the government over a disagreement. Yes.
Yep. So we are going to make this extremely political today, like everybody else is making everything else political, because he's going to talk about a cryptid. I'm going to talk about a cryptid. Then he's going to talk about one. And then at the end, you are all going to vote on what was your favorite one.
And the
So
creepy
letting us
cryptids
know in
too.
the
We're
comments.
getting to some pretty creepy ones.
And yeah, we're kind of, creepy, and I wanted to kind of be all inclusive. I wanted to talk about ones that aren't well known about as well. And literally, I should have done like more in-depth research from ones that I used to talk, research about, because I've long since forgotten, some of these older websites from back in the day, that I was looking at, and I came across some gems that I just can't find anymore. And I came across some shit, that I had been doing research, but time goes by, la di da, and you forget. But I literally came across some back then that was insane. I mean, like they were cool. Like I wish that they were all real. You know, that's where the this comes into play. It's our Halloween special. Cryptids are a perfect topic to talk about during Halloween. Why? And to talk about during the celebrations of Halloween, the lore, the legends, the stories, which ones are real, which ones are fake, which
hmm
ones, it's just a perfect topic, really. And
Exactly.
I feel like, it's so deep that the cryptic world is so deep that you need to, at least be curious and look into it. Even if it doesn't interest you, it will if you look into it.
However, yeah.
Everybody has time to kill. One of these times you're boring, just have kill time and look at, like do some research into different cryptids. It's pretty cool. And one of mine I'm talking about today actually occurs from right where I grew up. I've fished the lake before, but I had no idea about this actual cryptid up until like 2 years ago. And, I'll get into that when I get there.
Yeah. All right.
But
Yeah.
would you like to start it off?
Yeah, I'll start this off. Yeah, and this is one that this was from like the 1700s, and I thought this was interesting.
Ooh.
Hardly anybody talks about this particular cryptid, and it's known as the Snallygaster.
Ooh.
And its origin name came from German, came the Schnellgeist or Schnellergeist, which translates to quick spirit or fast ghost. In her book Spirits of Frederick, author Alice T. Weinberg reported that the first Snallygaster sighting was in 1735. And what is it? It's even though Google says it's a mysterious unknown cryptid that is said to look like a dragon. The legend of the beast originated with the German immigrants that settled in Frederick County in central Maryland. And even let's see here. There we are. I gotta click down here.
And real quick, I was known that it was called the Maryland Dragon. And it's kind of changed through history a little bit, different tellings. There's the lore again that comes up, the different tellings during Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very interesting tale by itself. And keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was actually quite interesting. There's even a legend that about Teddy Roosevelt reportedly it's reportedly considered postponing an African safari to personally hunt the beast. It was later revealed
Yep.
that these reports were part of a hoax perpetuated by Middletown Valley Register editor George C. Roderick and report Ralph S. Wolf in an attempt to increase readership. Now, I know some people were saying, okay, that's the cover story, but when this is what the government and the agencies do now. They will create a cover story on top of a real story and then just say it was a hoax later on, like they did with Roswell. So what they do is they'll say real, fake, and you'll find that there was a kernel of truth to the totality of the entire thing. So the thing with the snallygaster, I feel this was a type of dragon that was sighted at the time.
And and see another theory is that a lot of people think it could be the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Too, then the Jersey Devil left snow tracks in 1909. And
hmm
the Snallygaster kind of originated, when was it?
No.
Forget the
Yeah, and it's in the 1700s, but Teddy Roosevelt
17, yeah.
1900s. But yeah, I'm thinking the time frame still fits for how the progression of the Jersey Devil, like the Pine Barrens, that whole story.
Yep.
Yeah, it fits very very well with that. I feel they're the same creature.
Yep.
They seem
And that's kind of what I was thinking too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I saw this and I saw the tail of the Jersey Devil. It's like you're not too far territorially. You just go slightly further north a little bit if you're the creature. It wouldn't be that hard to be the same creature from Pine Barrens to that part of Maryland. It's not that big of a deal. It's just that it passed from people forget in pre-United States, each area was a territory that had their own kind of legends and their own governments and their own everything when it still belonged to England. So it stands to reason that, of course, they'd have different names for things as time went on. You know.
That, Yeah, I agree. There's also a lady I wanted to tell you that's planning on having a traveling museum, I guess, for the American Snallygaster Museum. Her
Hmm.
full-time job, she's a travel ER nurse, but she apparently has dived deep research into the lores and legends of this story, and is gonna plan on having a traveling museum called the American Snallygaster Museum. So
Hmm.
might
Yeah,
be
and I
interesting.
just looked up that's actually very, very interesting. And I looked up the Jersey Devil, and the description of this is pretty identical to the Snallygaster. It's originating from 1735 tale of a mother leads cursed 13th child, which was born a monster and flew into the woods. It's still 1700s that this originated from, and then passed, into Roosevelt's time, which would when he was around, that said said that he hunted the snallygaster. So I'm believing this is the same creature. So
Also, something kind of interesting about the creature, it was termed the Snallygaster, but its German origins is Schnellgeist,
hmm
which apparently means quick ghost. So
hmm
watch it be like some strange demonic entity or something that vanishes in the night
or
or
dimensional,
something.
because I notice with dimensional things, it appears like they're using speed, but they're changing frequency to such an extent. It looks like they're quickly moving. Things are quickly moving away. Anything that shifts can shift quantumly like that. Yeah.
Popping in, popping out. See you
Yep.
later. Yeah, I can't tell anybody this. Nobody will believe me.
Because they pop in,
You
pop
know?
out, and I can see where Snellygeist came from, or Schnellgeist came from. Quick Ghost. I can see where that came from. They were describing what they were seeing. Oh, that was a quick ghost. So I could see
Yeah.
where they got it from. You know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what can be out there.
Yeah, and yeah, the whole thing with the Jersey Devil was it had to do with basically it was a demonic baby being born to some unwed mother. So on the church described as, oh, it's demonic. So the church went with demon at the time.
Hmm.
So they're like, oh, this is demonic, and this was pre-United States. That's in the 1730s. So as well, what's really interesting because the fact that the territories tell the same thing with just different names is we live out an hour and a half from the Outer Banks here, and I'll tell an example of this. The same ghost stories that come out of the Outer Banks and the same legends that come out of the Outer Banks have different names depending on whether you're in Kitty Hawk, Nag's Head, or in Kill Devil Hills, and it's the same stretch there. But these all belong to different territories, even though they were within North Carolina. And they were all they're different legends by different groups that lived in the area. So it depends on the group of people that come across these things, how they're going to tell the stories. And
Hmm.
the same thing with the Jersey Devil and the Snallygaster. Obviously, a German immigrant came across the Snallygaster to start with, and with the Jersey Devil, it was the church that was involved. So you see how it's told differently. So,
Hmm.
so
And
this is
all,
how it's viewed.
and obviously different, you know, tree branched off from different people in the mountains and people in town and hearsay and
Hyperbole.
what actual reports, what they actually seen, possibly. Yeah, no.
Yeah, and the
uh,
description of the Snallygaster is always this dragon. I look at the Jersey Devil here. Actually, I'll show a picture real fast here, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. You see, this is the Jersey Devil, where you have, I get on images here, and you have this look here, where it's essentially like a goat dragon looking thing.
hmm
And then you have Snallygaster, which is images. See the similarities here, even though there's some bird features with the Snallygaster that's very similar. Uh, and this one's more like a griffin. But I found out the Harry Potter movies used the Snallygaster look for a creature that was in the magical world. So and this fits because there are realms that J.K. Rowling, when she wrote the Harry Potter series, I found out she was channeling from a group of people that were in a different dimensional state, which would be like the Wizarding world. We called it the Tartarian world unity, where it was like this world empire that went into a different frequency. I don't want to go into that story too much, this would confuse things, but that's a totally different topic. Tartaria is a different topic altogether. But this here, this is where some of these creatures pass over from, is this dimensional space where you see in Harry Potter, where they're running through a pillar in a train station, they end up in an alternate train station. It's I had dreams years ago of like dwarves and leprechauns and everything going through mailboxes and all this other stuff and ending up in a different realm. I found out that was channeled from a real source. Same thing with Tolkien and the elves and the Lord of the Rings and all that too.
And I want to bring up a topic real quick. Is now the perfect timing. And some of these, a lot of cryptids are associated with UFOs too. We're not going to really be talking about UFOs today, but
Yeah,
a
you're
lot
right.
of cryptids are associated with UFOs. Where there's a UFO, there's a cryptid. So was it dropped off?
Well, yeah, they're in some cases, and also they're associated with Sasquatch a lot of time too. So
Yep, a lot. Huh?
there's a lot of reports of orbs in space.
That's what I thought about being my first tattoo was a UFO with an abduction thing and Bigfoot in the middle.
Yeah, that would actually be cool. That they would support that imagery. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Did you want to go do a cryptid now?
Yeah, is that the end for the Snallygaster now?
Yeah,
I
we can
just
we can
wanted
we can
to
move on. Oh, you guys.
I do like that the story of the Snallygaster and diving into it, like I said, it is pretty cool. And if I'm ever up there in Maryland, I'm definitely gonna have to try to, you know, look into it a little bit, see if there's anything there about it. But I think I'm going to firstly, which one do I want to battle with first? Remember, everybody let us know which one's your favorite at the end
Mm-hmm.
today. The votes matter. We're gonna make this cryptic creature feature Halloween special between Chris and I are extremely political like the world is right now.
Creature
We're
feature.
filibustering like this episode's gonna be a month long.
Yeah,
So,
this will be a month.
like everybody has to listen to it for a month long too.
One hell of an edit at the end, I can tell you.
Yeah, no edits. It's all just
No,
straight
one thing.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, no sleeping for the next month.
We'll do live stream for one solid month and no sleep, yes.
Well, since I tidbitted this story, I think I'm gonna start off with the one that I grew up by. And it's called the Alkali Lake Monster, and I should probably share the screen just right off the bat real quick.
You have the settings. Yes, I got the settings on. You should be able to.
It's a pretty cool depiction of of what it's supposed to look like.
Mm.
And I'm sure this is extremely, exaggerated, but that's kind of the setting though. Imagine that lake sort of. That's kind of a, cartoonish, I guess, representation of it. But the lake kind of looks like that. I grew up in the middle of the sand hills. It's
Mm.
just eerie, if you guys are from the city or if you've never seen, been out, in the wilderness much, this is just a different area, and there's a lot of unique places in this world. And within these United States, this is a very unique area. I'll say that.
Hmm.
I'll put it in the top 25 uniquest areas in the United States. And, you know, yeah. So I had no idea about this creature, is the weird thing. I grew up fishing here. And if I would have known about it back in the day, I would have curiosity would have sparked me to probably explore the lake a little bit more. I do remember wading in it though, fishing. I was wade fishing and coming out, and I had leeches all over my legs that I didn't like. So watching me like one big massive like trimmer leech from the movie Tremors that's like tunneling underneath the lake is what I kind of thought would be a cool representation after my experiences there and after learning about the creature. Just
Hmm.
imagine, I think that would be a great movie. Like giant leeches that tunnel underneath lakes that like swallow people.
Yeah, yeah,
I own
exactly.
the copyrights to that idea if it's ever taken. Mark date stamped. Good idea. There's some
Time and date
future.
stamp. Right now, Aubrey owned it. So
Huh?
I said you own it. It's time and date stamped for today.
Yeah, hell yeah.
February.
But this is a cool looking creature here. And when you think of Nebraska, I reckon these images of Midland's cornfields, corn huskers, football, and maybe Warren Buffett don't spring to mind. But let me tell you, the unassuming state smack dab in the heart of America is hiding a rich history of cryptozoological mysteries, downright bizarre creature sightings that'll make your hair stand on end. From the infamous Alkali Lake Monster to Bigfoot himself stalking through the forest, Nebraska seems to be a regular hotbed of cryptid activity that many folks might find surprising. And I wanted to make that point there in this article because of what we said in the beginning. I would like to bring more attention to some of these unknown cryptids, forgotten. I think that's where kind of cool conversations and curiosity and you can learn obviously from these topics too, even if you don't think that, if you think it's bull crap.
Yeah.
But you can still learn something from. Let me go back there. I wanted to finish reading that. Uh, but let's go to it's down here in the article. Wanted to read. I already know what was it. Oh, there it is. Our first stop on our cryptozoological safari is the sleepy town of Hay Springs, nestled in a rugged terrain of northwestern Nebraska. It's actually closer to Valentine, so don't read what this article says. It's here that we find the legend of the Alkali Lake Monster, also known as the Walgren Lake Monster, or even the tongue-twisting Gigantus bruvatorius. So they've gave it a scientific name, apparently. This massive
That unless
aquatic,
it's real.
huh?
They don't. The academia doesn't do that unless it's real. So yeah.
It'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? We need to look that up.
Mm.
Aquatic beastie was first reported way back in 1921 at what was then called Alkali Lake. It's still Alkali Lake. I don't know where they're getting their information here. According to the eyewitness account of the local fellow named J.A. Johnson, he and two of his buddies were camping by the lake when they spotted something mighty peculiar swimming just 20 yards offshore. Johnson described it as a huge alligator-like creature, around 40 feet long, with rough grayish-brown skin and a single horn protruding from its head between the eyes and nostrils. Now, Johnson claimed that when this monster noticed the men gawking at it, the darn thing let out a mighty roar that'd make you curl your toes, thrashed its powerful tail, and then dove beneath the surface, disappearing from view like a ghost at sunrise. Well, news of Johnson's sighting spread faster than a wildfire in a drought, and before you could say jumpin' Jehovah sat, the Alkali Lake monster became a media sensation, with stories popping up in newspapers from coast to coast, even across the pond in the London Times. I wonder if that's true. I don't know. As more folks came forward with their own tales of the beast, the legend of the Alkali Lake Monster grew bigger than a 10-gallon hat. Some claimed that there were additional sightings and even a few harebrained attempts by the locals to capture the critter. As the years went by, the monster's description and supposed abilities got more and more fantastical. So, as we see here, the original cryptid, stories branch off. And that's what happens with a lot of these cryptids is they start branching off.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, this creature sparked extreme interest, and I had no idea about it. And even growing up there, I wish I would have. That way, I could have, explored it a little bit. Uh, but it's supposedly supposed to be like a Loch Ness style like creature. But
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine it being like a giant leech, like the movie Tremors, that goes underneath the lake and burrows it. That's why you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's underneath there. And like I said, the only thing I've got out of Alkali Lake waiting, and I've ice fished it a few times, is leeches in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh yeah, yeah.
that,
With creatures like this, even Sasquatch has multiple names for the same being. So it stands to reason that this type of being is all over the place as well, and they just have different local legendary.
and real quick, I just wanted to just hot mention that was my mine for the battle was the Alkali Lake Monster. But just to mention while I'm in this article is the hairy humanoids of the Heartland, which is Bigfoot and
Mhm.
Bigfoot style creatures. Uh, and there has been Bigfoot reported all over the state if you look into it, the Midwest in particular, but obviously Washington, Alaska, Colorado, those are your hotbed. And the South, the skunk ape.
Mhm.
I know we're not really talking about Bigfoot today, but since the topic is cryptids,
Yeah.
and nobody can vote for Bigfoot today, you got to vote for the one we're talking about.
Sasquatch will get a vote on a different show. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I bet he's got everyone's vote. So you can't vote for Bigfoot. But then you can real make that political. I mean, you can't tell me who I can vote for. Since this episode is political, you can come and tell me that I can't tell you that you can't vote for Bigfoot. But yeah. I just wanted to mention that Bigfoot's been sighted in Nebraska. It's not like it's, not just corn here. Which year's your next?
All right. Let's see here. I've got the Owl Witch.
Hmm.
This is one that we've personally had encounters with. I'll get to that secondary, but I'll tell you the slight backstory here. Uh, the Owl Witch of Mexico is known as La Lechuza, mythical creature from Mexican and Tejano folklore that is a shape-shifting witch with the face of a woman and the body of a large owl. She is often depicted as a vengeful figure who targets disobedient children and drunk or abusive men. This is why at first I thought it was more of a scare tactic to get people to act right, but this isn't. Appearing outside homes to look in windows and on roofs, legends say that harming or killing a La Shuza in her owl form will revert her to her human shape. This is okay. La Chuza is a well-known figure in folklore along the U.S. border in northern Mexico. She is described as a massive owl with the face and eyes of an old woman. The name La Chuza directly translates to owl in English. So what? When we were in Arizona, this is ironic that I'm bringing this topic up given the fact that we had car issues of the same car then as we do right now. We have the same issue, the engine block. But this is a story of what happened when we went to Yuma, Arizona. This particular entity, when we were heading, we were passing the proofing grounds outside the military proofing grounds, Army proofing grounds, right outside of Yuma, Arizona, about 30 miles north of Yuma. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I knew nothing about owl witches. I knew nothing about the legend. Zero, zilch. So we were passing. All of a sudden, the car has engine problems. Literally, the engine block split in half, and it was right down the middle. And of course, it had to be towed at that point. And the thing of it is, though, we knew it was some kind of attack from something. You could definitely feel that. Fast forward to when we had to get it repaired. It was a recall notice on the engine anyway, and we didn't have to pay for anything. But what happened was the aftermath of this. I came to find out Joanna was having dreams of this old like hag type of being that had
Yo, hag.
like known as an old hag entity type as well. You want to talk about a creepy entity?
Yeah.
But this fits the same bill because this being had owl features. And in this vision sequence she was having, this thing was preying on little children. We knew nothing about the owl witch legends, and then we spotted at the time owl-like cryptids that looked like what we thought was like a woman from a distance, and it was an owl witch. We came to find out in Mexican and Native American lore, it's number 2 on the bad guy list for them. A reptilian demonic entity is number 1 for them. But
What about? I guess would that La Llorona be involved in that as well?
I
The,
think, well, that's I believe with the Island of the Dolls.
I guess they're kind of all like I guess they'd kind of intermingle maybe. I
yeah,
guess in a way.
I believe that some things are similar between the two stories.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Different areas, different words for it. But
Hmm.
this particular thing, what got us later on, we read as part of the legend for the Owl Witch. They are known in modern days for literally splitting a car's engine block in half.
Hmm.
And they describe it as a split down the middle, like somebody's taking an axe or something, or a
Hmm.
ball to it, or something like that, or like a guillotine. This is known. They are
Interesting.
known for screwing with engine blocks in cars in the area in which we were driving in. Part of the legend was in that area of the country, and it's not just Mexico. It was southern United States along the Arizona-Texas border there.
Hmm. Southwest.
Yeah, we knew nothing about that in New Mexico and everything. We knew nothing about it. And we talked to some local tribes people who were like scared to death at the fact we brought even the subject even up. And we were trying to talk to some local Indians there in Prescott. They're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" It's still like they were like terrified when we told them this. We thought they would have some knowledge on it, but they were just scared to death of it. Very superstitious in that area. But this is an entity type. It looks like it's like a transdimensional entity, and it looks like it's the same as like say the Tengu of Japan, where it's like this bird shape-shifting type entity, and it looks like it's not unlike during the Mothman legends as well. And the Mothman's separate, but you have an owl being that was spotted at the time as well that could morph into a human form. I'm thinking we're seeing the same thing. There's also bat-like cryptids over there too, but people are screwing several of them up. But I'm thinking the bird-like ones that have the shape-shifting faces, I believe this is all one thing. And this goes back to Greek mythology too, to the legend of the Harpies, where it's like Zeus created
Hmm.
these things that would punish people that were like birds and had like these weird wings and fangs and they were female type entities. These are like an offshoot, I feel, of like Owl Witch. I believe Owl Witch is essentially the same thing, different culture, different name for it. And this is one of the creepiest ones because it was one of the most difficult ones for me to purge. And this was from personal experience. We literally encountered The owl.
Well, and it says in Aztec mythology, owls, were seen as symbols of wisdom and misfortune. So does the creature bring wisdom or does it bring misfortune?
Yeah, what's interesting is, regular owls are fine. The Hispanic culture seems to be superstitious about regular owls, but I looked into where they were getting that fear from, and yeah, it's very interesting because if you trace back the owl symbolism, it traces back to one deity, and
And
that is Moloch, and
hmm,
basically a demigod by the name of Moloch, and I believe he's a Celtic and also Middle Eastern deity that is essentially into human sacrifice and basically eating people. So it's cannibalism. So and he has the owl face as his emblem. And so I'm thinking this is all tied into the exact same mythology. It's just different cultures across the planet, but it's the same demigod. I feel is behind this, or the same entity type is behind this. Uh,
hmm.
but yeah, and I did not know about the Aryan mythology where you get rid of the owl version of them and they go back to being human. I noticed when I used my normal techniques where I go after demons, I go after cutting their head off and all this other stuff in different frequencies, I noticed this being would revert to a female form. And I didn't realize that one would transform the other. And then after that, I had this strange dream where I was out in the middle of the desert. Me and Joanna were in the middle of a desert trying to look for a dog that was out in the middle of the desert. Well, this was her stepmother and father's dog, Lizzie or Lily, actually. And we were looking for her, and we noticed that, and this was after she passed away. And this is where animals protect you in dream time as well. We noticed she was in the dream with us, and there was this lit up structure with this witch that was in this hut, typical story, but this being in the dream turned into an owl and then started to die. Then I noticed the scene switched to a bunch of Native Americans grabbing a hold of this woman and throwing her into a vat of water and sealing her in a big vat. And
Jeez.
she was screaming the whole time, and the Native Americans in the dream basically saying, "Okay, we helped you. We took care of this. You're fine now." And so this was the whole story of the encounter from both spanning physical and dream time with the owl witch. So this was some we personally encountered. We know that this one's legitimate. And so
Hmm.
creepy as holy hell, but this one's legitimate. Yeah.
Sounds like you got the stroke of misfortune.
Yeah, and that's what they cause strokes of misfortune. Any negative entities that try to entangle with you will cause strokes of misfortune. Any of them do that. It just depends how much or how little is how powerful they are. Is essentially what they're the strongest torsion field and energy field wins in that respect. So yeah, you never let any of these entities be bullies, no matter what the hell they are. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go. You got one
Knock
now?
'em on the knees, knock 'em on the knees.
Yeah. You got one?
Yeah. Up next, I guess we shall go with Willow the Wisp.
Hmm. Good one.
It's kind of a classic legend, one more so. It's mysterious lights that have been seen for since the beginning of time, basically. And the scientific side, nature side goes, ball lightning, gas, light, uh, just swamp gas lighting. There's scientific phenomena that they explain it with, but it's the legend of like that mysterious light that follows you around, and you see in the distance and it gets closer and closer and closer. But what is a will-o'-the-wisp? A will-o'-the-wisp is a phantom light that hovers in the wilderness, luring travelers away from the beaten path, so it like lures you and makes you become lost. Most of these lights haunt the moors and bogs of England, but they have been reported all over the world under various names. Characteristics, physical description. Will-o'-the-wisps are very simple apparitions. They appear as balls of light, sometimes so bright that they hurt your eyes, and other times so dim that you have to squint to see them. They usually have a bluish gleam to them, although red also has been reported. In some rare shootings. I wonder what rare shooting happened today in what city. To
Right.
make this political again. In some rare sightings, a dark figure has been seen carrying the light. as if it was a torch or a lantern. Despite carrying a light, the figure is also always too dark to be described in detail. And I wanted to make a correlation there too. I believe that the will o' the wisps, in a way, could be UFOs as well. There's these little mysterious lights that lead you away, and then whoop, zip, there you go.
Hmm.
And but also, a personality, a light floating in the darkness might seem innocent, even friendly, but don't be deceived. These attractive lights are almost always malevolent. They lead travelers onto dangerous land, perhaps a deep hole or in a bog or a kingdom ruled by vicious fairies. The backstory of Will-o'-the-Wisps can shed some light on their cruel nature. The lights are carried by spirits who are shut out of both heaven and hell, so it's kind of like purgatory.
Hmm.
Uh, the
Interesting.
classic Will-o'-the-Wisp is carried by a blacksmith named Will. Will was such a troublemaker that when he died and went to heaven, he was sent back by St. Peter. Uh, St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. He was sent back by St. Peter, who told him to reform during his second life. Unfortunately, Will's second life was even more monstrous than his first, so St. Peter cursed him to roam the earth forever. The devil, impressed by Will's evil doing, gave him a coal to warm himself on the cold earth nights. Instead, Will decided to use the coal to make a torch and lure innocent travelers into danger. The jack-o'-lantern is carried by a drunkard named Jack. Jack sold his soul to the devil so that the devil would pay his pub tab. When the devil returned from the pub to collect Jack's soul, the man tricked him into climbing a tree, then drew a cross under the tree, trapping the furious devil in its branches. Later, when Jack died and was rejected at heaven's gates, he had to beg the devil for a place in hell. The devil was delighted at his chance to get revenge. He cursed Jack to wander the earth with only a small frame for light. Jack put this flame in a carved turnip and used it as a lantern. Remember that story?
Oh yeah, the
Eh,
Jacqueline story. Yeah.
Yeah. In other places, goblins, pixies, witches, unbaptized children, and even the devil are blamed for carrying these dangerous lights. So the souls of those spirits are supposedly will-o'-the-wisps that lead you away and stray you
Interesting.
away to your
Interesting.
doom.
I think at least a third of those are at least alien abduction, and
I think they could be.
yeah, and the I know there is a will-o'-the-wisp type of entity as well, where it's like this plasmoid, like swamp dwelling feral type of energetic or a type of being. I know it's an I think some it's like in Elder Scrolls where they depict it that way. The same thing with the ice wraith that's in the Elder Scrolls series where it's like an animal, but
Hmm.
or a transdimensional type animal or like plasmoid with a plasmoid skeleton type of thing. But with the will-o'-the-wisp. Yeah, with them carrying the light, that's like the mythology of like the train conductors with the lantern and everything. I think this is a grand majority of what you're hearing. Actually, I should say not just a third, at least over half is alien abduction type stories
I think so.
regurgitated. And the other one is the cryptid, the standard one, the swamp dwelling one, and also some aliens inhabit swamp areas where they want people to get lost deep enough into it and into the woods so that they can abduct them and do stuff to them. And they
Hmm.
have like bases underwater. I've heard of like fish type races that have like bases underwater. Greys do this a lot. Now, Sasquatch is associated with orbs, but some of them are spaceships where some of them go into, and it's like at the TARDIS on Doctor Who, where it's bigger on the inside. They can have whole crews in like a little orb. That's different. Fairies are also sometimes little transdimensional orbs. Hence, like it's a light leading you into a group of fairies type of thing, where it's almost like a kill box type of situation. I've heard of that happening many times to seers and people hunting these things. And the other one with the jack-o'-lantern. Now, I know those are essentially basically the same kind of around the same tail, but the jack-o'-lantern I noticed when I put like a jack-o'-lantern image like on our orgone pieces. Doesn't matter the time of year. I've noticed that if I use jack-o'-lantern imagery, it seems to be to ward off evil things that try to come at it. Even ghosts, I've noticed. If I stick our porcelain jack-o'-lantern on the deck outside, uh, and have that through Halloween, or even carve one like a jack-o'-lantern, it seems to work as a talisman in front of the door. And I know that eventually people associated that with a talisman to keep away evil spirits. So it seems to work. Even if people are focusing their energy, the thought forms, on the thing to make it happen, it's still working. So,
Hmm.
like with dragon pieces, like I make dragon orgone pieces, I've noticed that even whether there's a dragon present or not that's speaking to people through it, it seems to have that protective focus. Sasquatch, same thing. Where I make a Sasquatch bust, it seems to be a good protective piece. Jack-o'-lantern, I was surprised at the fact that it worked. And so I'm thinking, oh,
Hmm.
try a Halloweeny thing and see if this works. Jack-o'-lantern, every time, seems to do something productive and it seems to ward off evil. So
Hmm.
I test these things independently of each other just to see if they do something. And I was open at first that it was just me doing it as well, but I noticed each time it was different. I was completely impartial as to what method worked, and jack lantern seemed to work. And that and yeah, it seems to be very closely kind of related, like you said, with the will o' the wisp.
Hmm.
But
Interesting. Just one little to finish up about Will o' the Wisps. Aside from their ability to dazzle and tantalize travelers, Will o' the Wisps are also powerful omens. They appear to be able to predict the future, appearing to people before their deaths or flocking to the site of a tragedy before it takes place. They might also reveal the place where a thief or a fairy has buried golden treasure. I also want to bring up something right here, real quick, about that, and that's basically about Will o' the Wisp, other than the
I
origin. I want to talk about the origin real quick. Will o' the Wisp appear in Europe's written record around the 13th century, but their legend was well known all across the world long before pen to paper. The oral traditions of Cornish, Nordic, and Aboriginal people warn against the dangers of these phantom lights. So I just wanted to bring up that winged creatures, like it just mentioned here, going back to the Snallygaster and the Jersey Devil,
mhm.
and then this is a powerful omen. Look at the. I wanted to bring this creature up just real quick as the main reason. You know, it's just an honorable mention. You can't vote on this one. It's an honorable mention. You can't vote on this one. And no, I'm not telling you that you can't vote either. Yeah, I know. Can you take a guess? It is Point Pleasant.
Yep,
The prediction,
that would.
and then
Mothman.
The Omen, yeah, winged creature, yeah. So you can kind of relate him into.
A lot of this, like I said, a lot of it was intertwined, like with owls and bats and Mothman. Oh my, there. But it's like,
And I know people with owls. You know, if you see an owl in the deep, like they'll turn the other direction.
oh yeah,
You
and
know,
some cultures see them as symbols of wisdom. Other ones associate them with messengers of death and doom. Like some of the
yeah,
things Indians do that. So
doom.
yeah, I thought that was actually quite interesting. I got two more left for our show today.
Perfect. And I got one, so that'll give everybody a perfect. So you go, then I'll go, then you end it.
Okay. All right. The next one on my list is the Wendigo. So this is actually one of the creepier ones. The
Oh
Wendigo
yeah.
is a creature of Algonquin and Cree folklore from North America, often depicted as an emaciated, monstrous entity with a craving for human flesh, which can be a supernatural being or a human transformed by extreme greed and cannibalism. It is associated with the cold and wilderness, capable of immense strength, stealth, and luring victims with voices. While its image is rooted in folklore, the term has also been used to refer to a controversial mental illness. Origin. Concept of the Wendigo originates from the folklore of indigenous peoples in the Great Lakes region of North America. Appearance. The creature is often described as an emaciated giant with large claws, sometimes with antlers or horns, and a foul, decaying odor. Behaviors. It roams the woodlands in search of food, possesses great strength, speed, and agility, and uses stealth and ability to mimic voices and lure prey. This goes back to what we just said about the little wisp as
Mm-hmm.
well. So transformation. A human can become a Wendigo through extreme greed or by engaging in cannibalism, a theme often connected to desperation and starvation during winter. This is where sometimes people think that it was allegory for that. And then from that point, some people believed it was a tulpa after that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I could see where they were getting that from, kind of like the Slender Man type of deal. But with this, my last one has to do with a tulpa. But this one, I feel, is an actual cryptid because there are records within some of the deep projects of some cryptids and entities that some of these projects have captured, and one of them was a Wendigo. And when some of these deep projects want to depopulate an area, and also some beings out there, you can count alien in this, want to depopulate an area, they let a couple Wendigo go, and it causes societal entropy, and it begins to decay, basically an area, turning an area into almost like a Sodom and Gomorrah after a while. And because these things, two of them could, I found a story one time where two Wendigo completely decimated an Inuit village. So to where some government agency wanted it clean, and they hired these or brought these this other agency in that knew this paranormal side of things. And it's like Hitler had his paranormal division, our government has the same. So people seem to think they inherited it of that tendency from the Nazi regime years ago with paperclip. Some people think that was brought in with paperclip, but that's why academia won't accept the paranormal field, because they think it has ties to Adolf Hitler. That's something people don't know. But backtracking a little bit here, this creature is probably one of the creepiest ones that I've ever had to purge away from someone's property. These are usually people that live up north somewhere, from the Dakotas and also in Alaska. Some people have told me that they felt that there was a Wendigo around because they had these creepy thoughts of like eating human flesh and everything. I'm thinking, okay, what is this thing for real? At first, I thought I went Tulpa route because some people just, I figured, generated it into existence. No, it was the other way around, where it was manipulating people to empower it like a vampire.
Mm.
So I thought, again, it was like the Slender Man. We thought that was a tulpa, but it was the reverse of that. It was a cryptid that people thought they were generating it. But my last one on the list is eventually going to be a tulpa. But this one, I have to say, when I looked at this person's property, when I bilocated, I could see this being that looked like a skeleton, and it had an animal head and antlers, and it was basically eating an animal or something like that. And I said, "Oh, you weren't kidding, were you?" But this one was difficult. I actually had to have assistance from guides at the time to get rid of this one. It's one of the creepier bad guys I've ever come across, because they seem to be able to merge with a person, and then that person turns into a Wendigo. Now, I know some people thinking, oh, it's an allegory for not acting creepy, basically, is what it is. Like with some people believe that's what some religious beliefs are for, in order to keep a margin of error in there. Like how people regarded Krampus for a little while for little kids, and that ended up being true too. So there's always a truth to some of these stories. People think they're making it up. They're actually getting it from somewhere, like the origination of the thought. They're getting it from a big overall butterfly effect of energy out there, is where they're getting some of these ideas. But this is one I have to say, in someone's session I did come across. I didn't physically see it like we did the Owl Witch. But this one, the energy is very creepy, whether it was generated or not. This was based on a really dark cesspool of energy that coalesced into this physical form at some point in history. So I can see where people, again, were getting tulpa, but this coalesced into a really creepy cryptid at some point, that obviously somebody that knew genetic engineering out there, alien or otherwise, brought it into form. It's transdimensional, and it's one of the creepier ones I've actually encountered session-wise. I've not actually laid physical eyes on this one, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are very creepy, and you don't want them to be bulked up either. They're pretty bad when they're bulked up, but they almost look like a deer with of course with antlers, but bulked up muscle wise. But when they're low on energy, they take that skeletal form, And I used to think they were called a creature called the Fane, which was another cryptid type, another creepy, like demonic type that's also known as a blood demon or of some kind, where it's like a vampire. But I thought it was that was called that, but it's actually a Wendigo when it still has the flesh on the body. Uh, and if
Hmm.
it hasn't gnawed off its own flesh at some point, they only do that if they're actually low on energy, and then they get all skeletized, like Skeletor kind of thing. So yeah, um, creepy, creepy, creepy cryptids. So yeah, okay, we can go on to yours. That's all I had to say on the Wendigo. So.
Well, that's pretty good. I like you can't beat the Wendigo Classic. I think it'd be creepy as hell if you ever came across one. There's people that have tried to like go out in the middle and call them like they're hunting them.
In the Witcher game series, The Witcher 3, game of your edition, Wild Hunt, Geralt, you can actually hunt a Wendigo. They call it like a lichen or not a lichen. It's a like ichor or something like that in the game, but it's a Wendigo that's essentially being presented in that. So.
Well, I am going to keep it Midwest, like I said,
Mhm.
and I'm going to go a state above. I'm going to go to the great faces, great places, South Dakota, baby.
Hmm.
And I want to, in particular, talk about the Badlands Banshee.
Hmm.
Supposedly in Badlands National Park, there in South Dakota, which we've hiked a couple of times. I love it. I always go in the dead of winter though, so there's no snakes. Just got to watch your step, don't slip.
Yeah.
Be aware of your surroundings.
Oh, I've been to the Badlands, and they're pretty cool, but they're dangerous.
Yeah.
So.
Uh, and the Badlands Banshee, a wailing spirit of the rugged wilderness. In the rugged wilderness of South Dakota's Badlands, a ghostly figure is said to wander the desolate landscape. Her mournful wails echoing through the canyons, known as the Badlands Banshee. This spectral woman is described as having long, unkempt, and wearing a flowing white dress. She is most often spotted near Watchdog Butte, where she is believed to where she believed to materialize to attract the attention of unsuspecting passerbys. The origins of the Badlands Banshee are shrouded in mystery, with conflicting tales of her life and death. Some say that she was a settler woman killed by natives, and while others claim that she was an indigenous woman murdered by settlers. Regardless of her true identity, the Banshee's presence in the Badlands has become an integral part of the region's folklore. Encounters with the Badlands Banshee are said to be both terrifying and mesmerizing. Witnesses report being drawn to her plaintive cries, only to be shocked when she vanishes with a piercing scream upon their approach. The eerie silence that follows is a stark reminder of the Badlands' haunting beauty and the secrets that lie hidden within its rugged terrain. And before you go hiking it in the Badlands, if you go there, which I recommend everybody going to South Dakota and everywhere, I'd like to travel everywhere, but definitely South Dakota, go to the Badlands, go to Wall Drug, eat there, and fuel up, and then go look for the Banshee. But be safe. I warned you.
Mhm.
A lot of people that go missing in there that will never be found again, I assure you. So be
But this,
careful.
it seems like at first I was again thinking ghost encounter because some ghosts can appear like they're cryptids too. Like,
Yeah, that's what it kind of is.
yeah.
And I kind of feel like Wendigo would be a prime area for Wendigos as well.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
just seems like I feel like this is Wendigo-ish,
With
the
Wendigo, at
Banshee.
first I thought it was more like an actual banshee, like a coming of doom, I found out the tall white tails and the banshee tails were the same because
Well, and to pick up on yours, apparently the Wendigo right here in South Dakota.
hmm.
The Wendigo, a gaunt, pale creature with insatiable hunger for human flesh, is a chilling figure in South Dakota folklore. According to legend, the Wendigo was once human but became cursed after resorting to cannibalism in times of desperation. Now it roams the forests and plains, forever seeking to satisfy its grotesque cravings. One of the most famous Wendigo hunters was Jack Fiddler, a Cree man who claimed to have slain 14 of these creatures in his lifetime. In 1907, Fiddler and his son faced a trial for the murder of a Cree woman whom they believed was on the verge of transforming into a Wendigo. Fiddler argued that if he had not taken action, the woman would have succumbed to the curse and slaughtered the entire village. The legend of the Wendigo serves as a powerful cautionary tale against the dangers of greed and gluttony. It is a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart and the terrible consequences that can befall those who succumb to their basic instincts. The Wendigo's presence in South Dakota lore is a testament to the enduring power of these ancient warnings and the importance of preserving the wisdom of the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
interesting about the pale gaunt ones. That's also here in my neck of the woods, in Appalachia. There's a legend about the wild man, and there's also another. This goes back to Moloch again. I found out that some of these feral people are linked to the Moloch cult as well. So this goes back to the whole owl thing as well. So this see how it all kind of intertwines.
And speaking in trying to honorable mention South Dakota, the Black Hills, in the shadowy recesses of the South Dakota's Black Hills, whispers of a terrifying creature known as the Skinwalker have
Mm,
long haunted the imaginations of those who call this region home. These shape-shifting witches, deeply feared in Navajo lore, are said to possess the power to transform into animals, using their supernatural abilities to wreak havoc and sow discord among the living.
hmm Yeah, I feel that's again a human that got transformed. That's also associated with werewolves and dogmen, like Skinwalker transforming into Dogman, because it's sometimes werewolves are associated with satanic cults and such. So I'm thinking that this goes back to a Wendigo thing. The Banshee, I'm thinking, is more ghost, but still it got locked into the same kind of energy. So
Yeah.
the same basic thing. And this goes into my last one. This fits really well like a glove. So this last one, I chose this one because I just thought this was unique and it's not really talked about a whole lot, or at least people don't think that they're referring to this one a whole lot. It's called the egregore, and let's see, and egregore also spelled egregore
Egregore.
from French at Gregory, from ancient Greek. Okay, I don't need to read that one. Okay, is wakeful in Greek. Can't Gregorius. A wakeful is a concept in Western esotericism of a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. I found this actually quite fascinating, and I'll fast forward over to this other area that actually distincts between egregore and tulpa. This is actually quite fascinating. It goes, an egregore is a thought form generated by the collective beliefs and emotions of a group, while a tulpa is a thought form created by a single individual. The key
Mm.
difference lies in their origin. Egregores are a product of collective will and consciousness, whereas tulpas stem from the mind of one person who trains their thoughts to create an autonomous entity. Well, and this is actually, I love the fact that even though this is AI overview, I love the fact this was distincted because in the poltergeist lore, where someone is usually associated with a young girl that women tend to be in this state before men do anyway, but where they're developing and they have like maybe a suppressed set of abilities that's haunting a space, or if somebody suppresses their own abilities, like if they have psionic abilities and they're creating this like shadow form in a space, like the character of Credence in the Fantastic Beasts movies, where he kind of projects this shadow form. That's an egregore and or tulpa. But even though that's an individual doing that in the movie, that still falls under that. Imagine if an entire group was focused on a singular type of thing, either a monster or a like a deity. You know how many times like religious worshipers say they're seeing their form of, say, Jesus or Satan or whatever, and this actually falls under Tulpa and Egregore. Now, where the Egregore turns into this monstrous type thing is when you have a collective set of, like I said, pooling energy, like I said before, in a haunted space where it all pools together into a monster. That I call them entanglement monsters because you get entangled in that goop. And it may, again, this falls under the demon category where, in fact, that it will attack your fortune and get you into misfortune. But I've heard this like there's this castle in Ireland that had this monster. They call it the It monster. That's an egregore because of what was the collective darkness of all the people that occupied this castle. Now, I saw also, if people know the Montauk history up by Camp Hero, there was this gigantic egregore that took place there. It's in the Montauk. It's actually in the Montauk Tales, where their tampering with the timelines created a bunch of paradoxical shit and timeline fractures and fragmentaries. And what came out of that paradox? An egregore. So it was a monstrous sized one that took up that whole space there. I can't remember the name they gave it. It was this big ass egregore monster that had to do with more temporal focus, but it was because the Montauk chair was mental focus on a particular timeline and opening a portal and projecting into that time space. So what does that do? What does that do? Like even in Marvel, what did that do when people messed with the timelines? They created another branch that was a monstrous one.
Hmm.
Multiverse is both is and is not, a paradox, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. What does that do in the space where somebody is tampering?
Don't mess up the timeline.
Yeah, don't mess up the timelines, but what is it? Also, don't mess with energies and or get the fire started of a belief that you know nothing about. Don't self-farm a belief that you don't know what the point of origin is for it. Therefore, you
You
don't.
never know, though. I could have, I think it'd be so easy to change the timeline. What if I order a hamburger that was gonna be the hamburger that gives that guy a heart attack?
Mhm. Yeah, there's branch timelines. There's like you have this the one we're in, then you have all these little hairs. Like if you people watch the show Loki, that one actually happens to be accurate that way, where it creates these little branches. I know this wasn't the topic, but this is what the reason I brought up Montauk is it's associated with the Grigor mythology, so
Hmm.
and the lore. But
Very interesting. I think I know what we can all do the next time we all get together.
yeah, exactly. That, and also there is a famous episode of Stargate Atlantis where you see the crew trying to get into this time bubble or try to get their crew out of this time bubble these ancients put up to where they could ascend into energy within an isolated space. What happened when they went up in vibration is they were seeing this monster that was in the outer forest of their little territory. What it was a tulpa or an egregore of their worst tendencies or their fears. And that I like how they said it in that. I don't agree with the whole sentient thing that they said in it, in that, but what they said about what they called it the fear monster in that.
Hmm.
And I believe the people around Montauk call this the fear monster as well. So that's what a lot of these shows are depicting things like that. And people also assumed again that the Slender Man was one of these, and that ended up being an actual cryptid when you and I were talking about it before. But people just assumed that that one was also a Tolpa or thought form or a Grigor. But I just thought this was one of the creepier ones. I've come across the
No,
Grigor.
I like it.
Yeah, I've come across these before where I've had to tell people they're generating their own doom because they have either they have something that somebody else cursed their property with where it was a big thought form poltergeist. I call them Franken entities sometimes too. Or they're generating a tulpa on their property they're haunting themselves because it's an undealt with shadow that they haven't dealt with in themselves. That's why shadow work's important. But egregores are like, say, a group that's messing with energies like a cultist group, and they start conjuring crap other than demons. They start bringing in all of this creepy intent. You get an egregore.
Hmm.
So
Ah, that's interesting.
yeah, and it's solely egregores are solely made by us. So that's the creepy side right there. And the most
I think we need all to we need to artistically create a creature, and then we all like think about it and try to create it.
Oh, that's happened where people have created characters. Do the little experiment that is that's something I don't recommend they do, but if you absolutely have to try this on the ghost box session where you write or do a character generation on paper of birth to whatever you want the character to look like, ask for that character's presence on ghost box sessions, then therefore you have a tulpa that you've generated a form.
Ah,
So I've heard of that experiment being done.
hmm.
Yeah, I found that quite interesting, and one of the most famous egregore type examples of all time is the movie Forbidden Planet. The old one,
Hmm.
Leslie Nielsen as the main character in that. Years ago, the black and white one. Star Trek won out. They were trying to do the Space Force type of thing with Leslie Nielsen and Forbidden Planet. It didn't take. Star Trek took off instead. But with this one, they went to this planet where there were these aliens that had created psionic boosting technology, extremely potent IQ boosting technology. And the scientist that was there was learning how to use it himself to see if humans could use it. He got tens of thousands of years ahead in knowledge as a result. But all of a sudden, this monster starts attacking the the people outside and starts attacking the settlement. It turned out the aliens killed themselves with their own thoughts because their own primal junk ended up forming a giant tulpa or an egregore that actually murdered all of them. And when he boosted his thoughts, his thoughts became a gigantic tulpa or an egregore that was killing all the space force guys that were outside. So they found out it was actually a projection of himself. Another famous one, Star Trek Next Generation, same type of example where there was one man that was he found out you find out at the end he's an alien called a Dowd that has this immense like co-creative psionic abilities, and he actually kills the very aliens that killed his wife and the colony he was living on because he was living as a human. So he was married and everything. So he murders every single one of this group called Hallucinac, where these aliens were wanting to basically be like pirates and steal and murder and rape people and everything. So in his rage, he kills all of them with a big thought form, and he kills the entire society of like 10 billion of them or something like that. What happens is he generates their ship to try to drive the Enterprise out of the star system by creating this giant tulpa of the ship that my father and I compared it to the exactly like it was in Forbidden Planet, where the ship almost took on the face shape of the actor that was generating tulpa. In Forbidden Planet, you can still see that they use the actor's face to create the edges of the face of the monster. So it's the same visual trick they used in both scenarios. But they had to do it the exact same thing, both Tulpa and Egregor. So they had the same exact concept in both cases. So I thought that was a fascinating topic to bring to.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. And many people wanted me to touch on like what generates tulpas and things of that nature, but
Now, everybody, before questioning while he gets ready, which cryptid that we talked about today was your favorite? Your vote matters. Go ahead and comment your favorite one and all the ones that we pitched back and forth and discussed today.
yes,
There was a lot that we branched off. You also comment your favorite cryptid of all time. First cryptid is your favorite that we discussed. That's the vote. Then comment your favorite cryptid of all time. We'd like to know that. And Chris, what's your favorite cryptid creature of all time?
Well, it's a toss-up, obviously, of Sasquatch and there's also dragons and things of that nature. So I'd say Sasquatch wins that one. So for me,
Yeah. Oh my God.
uh,
It's so hard.
yeah, it's
It's so
difficult because
hard.
there's so many different categories and subcategories. Now, of
The
the
thing is, I had one saved one time, and it was an owlish creature, and I can't remember what it was. But I would say that one that I would vote on. God, there's so many.
the one for
You
our
know, obviously, probably Sasquatch. I
yeah,
hate to vote for him too, but I like how there's different. There's the skunk ape. There's the, yeah, there's different versions of him. He's in Australia.
in Europe and yeah.
Yeah, all the different regional Bigfoots and different versions of
Even in
Bigfoot.
Nebraska, yeah. So it's like, yeah, and also here in Virginia, sightings all over the place, even today. So it's maybe a show by itself. We do one on Sasquatch, but
That'd be good.
that would cover everything. That's why we had a
And
whole
I hate to be generic when I vote for Sasquatch, but
that
yeah,
and
that's
also
why we didn't really talk about him today.
that's why we didn't add it because this was more for creepy type as well. And I think of the ones we mentioned today, I think the one that would probably win my vote as the favorite of the bunches we've done now is probably Will o' the Wisp. Uh,
Mine probably be yours, the egregore.
Bigger
I
Gore.
like the form of creating one.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I suppose that's our tie with the other one for me too. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, where you can literally, I call them Franken entities. So yeah,
Yeah.
I used to call it that before I knew the name of Gregor as well. So
Real reason is I'll have to show you some of my drawings from back in the day. All that I drew was whatever creatures come to my mind. So
Oh yeah, where you're
Yeah,
seeing them. Yeah.
yeah.
What's interesting about who's channeling here, he is, Isaac's not available at the moment, believe it or not. With this is a being I ran across. His name is Hajamal, and he's actually an Anakim, which were the precursor to Sasquatch. So he's actually pretty cool. He's essentially where he's from. He's of the ET type, not necessarily what
Huh.
you call Sasquatch. So there was a precursor where they came from space. So and seeded what we know as Sasquatch via Australopithecus and stuff and beings like that. Hajamal, if you want to speak now, that would be good.
And while you're getting ready, I want to remind everybody that remember this topic is so deep and it's a perfect time of year to where it's you can discuss it with your friends, neighbors, family around the campfire, enjoy it and get into the cryptic world.
Right, okay. Hajamal, are you ready? Let's see. Now, there is some interference here. Of course, around this time of year, big interferences.
Mm.
Doing this kind of work, when I remove entities and stuff, it's very difficult to see things around closer you get to Halloween. Most powerful time of the year, everybody.
Yep.
Spells, magic, anything. Halloween is
Samhain.
Samhain, yeah. Samhain time, great time to do all that stuff. So, all right. Hajamal, benevolent, true benevolent.
Hajimal.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Yes, I am Hajamal. Where I am from, I am a teacher of the proper use of psionics. What you said about the egregore would be the misuse of psionics and forming of what you call Franken entities and tulpas. That is literally the psionic energy giving form and solid form from energy itself. Very much like in your Star Trek, where they go from the matter to the energy matter transporter. It's the same type of thing where you're pulling from the energetic field and giving it a form and creating in a form of co-creation. In this case, ill co-creation, dark magic, things of this nature, and or what he neglected to say was curses on land, like your Camp Hero, that happen to have all of that garbage happen, and also battlefields that are blood soaked and ghoul formed and ghoul infested with death and destruction. What does that coalesce as? Sometimes in a Grigor, because of all of the blood that was shed on those sites. This is why, not only with people self-farming a belief like, say, Gettysburg, for instance, where the battles continue all the time, an egregore can make it so that it loops continuously. And sometimes the Earth imprints it, of course, in the Akashic record, but in the energetic record of the Earth, but in constant loops that are fed upon by ghouls, soul trade, and other ETs and other vampiric entities and demons that would also constitute an egregore that would just loop and constantly loop a timeline over and over and over again. And where is Gettysburg? It is up here in Pennsylvania. Look along the coast. Over here, you have where the Montauk thing took place. How far did this stretch over? And where did it stretch from? And in those time travel projects, where did some of those, like Pegasus and them, go? They went back to the times of the Civil War. They went back to the times of pirates and ages of pirates and the formation of the United States, like your Gardner family. So what do you think did happen during those times, and also the timeline abuse? Egregores. But on a smaller scale, humans are doing this every day, and they do not realize that sometimes they haunt their very own spaces. The stronger the torsion field and the psionic field, the greater the haunting. And I'm not discounting ghosts or anything like that. It is the psionics that are actually making you haunt oneself. One also can cause their own misfortune with even an ill, how can I say, prepared, not necessarily thought, but a fear or a demon undealt with within. Now, these other cryptids that you mentioned, the Snallygaster and the Jersey Devil, yes, those are the same. They are, he says, transdimensional type of being. Yes, things slip from other dimensions all the time. And there's also experiments done by some of your ET races and your government to this day, like your Plum Island, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and places of that nature. These are experiments going on, but back.
Dr. Eric Traub. Dr. Eric Traub.
Yes, in this instance, this is a little of both, let's just say. And also your will o' the wisp. Your assessments were correct as far as alien abduction and dimensional beings and some that are energy forms. He even was shown in his Elder Scrolls series where a light will lead you to a castle where you fall into a pit. This has happened, unfortunately, more times than not because in that level or in that area, that castle, you see a bunch of skeletons at the bottom of a pool of water. These lights have led people to their doom. After sometimes also ETs will collect genetic samples and it'll make it look as if maybe fairies murdered somebody. And some of the fairy myths, it's usually an alien abduction as well. Changelings too, but there are actual fairies, of course, that do bad things as well. But 9 times out of 10, it was ETs doing the deed. I can actually go into question and answer if you wish.
Yeah, so when it comes to the egregores, you can create certain creatures. Do you believe that it'd be possible if enough people done it that you could create like world peace?
Of course, just like he would say the experiment that was done in Washington, D.C., on the Washington, D.C. Mall, where everyone went into a meditative pose and the world crime dropped by essentially 10 to 15% at that point. If you had everybody focusing on the same goal, you could literally generate world peace. They showed this in your Doctor Who program where the bad guy generated himself 8 billion times and focused on a singular point, bringing their planet of origin back. That's the same type of premise before the good, where by then you are literally just generating the calm by which then peace is formed. And the Anam area that we call it, or the calm state, and that meditative pose, and the pose and prose by which then that any egregore that was creating war is then frozen in place and dissolved.
Hmm. Well, okay, so will-o'-the-wisps now and other cryptid creatures. Why is there so many that would like tend to, I guess, sort of malevolent side, but uh or I guess and benevolent too. There is a lot of creatures, and will-o'-the-wisp can be described both ways. But why so many creatures that would lead you to your doom? There
Mm.
are a few that help you, but why so many that lead you to your doom?
So for some, it's fun. For other ones, they want something like a genetic sample, or some of your own kind have fallen into this in your government programs, whereas they're sitting on the other side of a mirror or a dimensional rift and or a remote control like your V2K technology, where they like to play practical jokes. Some wish harm because they're wanting to cull a population down, while others are just simply bored. Uh,
Hmm.
they'll have tech to do things with on the other side of a looking glass. They can see you, you cannot see them. And they will lead you astray with either that or they want, or if it's a predatory cryptid, like some types of werewolves and dogmen, not dumping on all of them. So anybody listening out there of them, I am not dumping on you. Your people are guilty of this, along with some of mine, along with other types of other cryptids like your wendigos and such. But with this, where they're drawn into the wilderness, just like with your face eaters, for instance, they're killed and eaten, and they wear the face. You see, not unlike your Peruvian face peelers, but those are medical freaks. But with this, they lead you out into the woods to get lost, and also sometimes draw your fear energy off of you, or to get food, or to get genetic samples, or because they're bored. It actually spans those categories.
Hmm. Interesting. So, when it comes to wendigos, and there's another creature, I'm having a mind blank right now. There's another creature like a wendigo, a well, a skinwalker, duh. Wendigos and skinwalkers. The greed, the lust, the emotions of the humans is what turns people into a wendigo. I feel like that's prevalent. So why are people not turning into Wendigos? Is
Hmm.
it just the way of the life, or is it just like is it a representation towards the way that you live your life?
It is a
'Cause I
represent.
feel like greed is at an all-time high.
Yes, it is essentially like a representation that you would turn into this or be vulnerable to darkness. It was actually a cautionary tale, but at the same time, there was a real cryptid. I say was at one time that what did actually fit the description. Much to his surprise, this particular cryptid type was eliminated a long time ago. But the fact remains that the energies, again, this falls under your egregore type of thing, where it actually was some sick beings out there that actually created these a long time ago and through a thought form. It was through psionic work and it was through genetic engineering. So it's still an egregore, even though it had a genetic form. It is still somebody's sick idea of a joke, and it also soaked up a lot of the negative energies. They meant it as, again, this falls under the board category again,
Hmm.
where the cautionary tale of the tribes people was based on that, but at the same time, even some of the people telling the story didn't believe it. They were just using it to make sure, as you would say, creating a margin of error, like your belief in hell does. This started to strengthen the Wendigo tales and started to regenerate imagery within Tulpa and egregore form of Wendigo. So this is what you're dealing with now. So in summing this up, it was another misuse of psionics. It's like telling a child that a monster will get them if they go outside. What does this do? Sometimes children have strong psionics. He met two children once that he told them, don't go near a pool or a monster will get you. They actually formed a tulpa or an egregore within the water of the pool that he himself had to eliminate as a demon. So this is
Hmm.
something that you do not want to do to children. He even said that zombies would get them if they ran out of the house again. This was done out of desperation so the kids didn't go running outside into danger. But at the same time, you don't want to do that. This was also associated with Krampus as well, where misbehaving kids would get eaten by Krampus. Those instances of that have not happened in some time, but also it is not good to create a Topa or a Grigor that would then take that form. So this actually goes both ways with the Wendigo. I hope this explains this.
I like that. I got two more. This one you can kind of relate to the Badlands Banshee. Explain these spirits of like phantom hitchhikers, the lady in the white dress, these phantom women,
Hmm.
spirits that like, it'd be like a hitchhiker, you pick her up, but then she vanishes in your back seat or, these stories. Why so many of these, phantom hitchhikers and women spirits?
Yes, this falls under. Sometimes it's Topa, sometimes it's Ghost. Majority
And
of
it kind of seems luring a little bit like Will-O' the Wisps.
Yes, this is that type of story. Sometimes it's ET. Sometimes it's a alluring spirit that very much like, say, your black-eyed children that want you to invite them in so they can do harm. This one, again, like the Will-O' the Wisp, this is actually falls under that same category where they lure you out and then claim the energy and or abduct you and or do things of this nature. The women that would say hitchhike or get in your vehicles, this is again a looping spirit or a looping ghost that is caught in a thought form and or one track loop. He's saying like your Star Trek Next Generation where Picard saw a time loop by which he caught himself doing the same action over and over again. Whereas he saw that was 6 hours apart from point of origin. This is one of those things in some cases. Now the Badlands Banshee, this is a ghost form of originally a woman that was shouting over the cliff's side again, like your La Llorona, where she was shouting over some kids murdered. In this case, she was shouting all the pains and all the sorrows that she had ever experienced in life. What does this generate? Not only legends, not only monsters, not only Grigor, but this generates focus. When that focus begins to focus on one thing, where does this spread? It pops up what you call the butterfly effect, by which that thought form will then ensnare other cases that are similar into a loop. So when somebody approaches that ghost in that loop, what then happens? They scream. Also, banshee cases foretelling of doom. That's actually an ET race doing that, a fairy and/or tall white race in your Irish mythology, and also England and Scotland as well, and parts of Europe. Also, your Charles J. Hall tall white story is talking of them as well. But with this case, this is a looping. This goes back into your egregore. Yeah, this also goes back into the malevolence of the will-o'-the-wisp, luring you out to a place. So people are actually getting a couple things: aliens, and also this constant relooping of that pain and sorrow. You see, this also goes again to your Skinwalker, where those stories. He thinks it's just with captured dogmen. That actually goes back into Wendigo. In the case of the Banshee in the Badlands, that again started off with such a strong intention that it actually looped into not only an egregore, but it looped into a mischievous ghost slash spirit. Just like, say, in your Sedona, Arizona area, the people are always warned, do not follow the voices up into the cliffs. You may get grabbed by rogue cat people, or you might be told to walk off a cliff. They just cause pain.
Mm.
That is your will-o'-the-wisp. This is something very similar, like your Mary Bergovie in your Illinois mythology of the Mary that in the cemetery that wanders the grounds.
Oh, yeah.
This is the same type of case, but in this case, that she physically gets into a vehicle. Some of
I
your
think there's one
Pele.
at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery too.
Yes, the Bachelor's Grove one, exactly. Some of your Paley mythology falls under this too, but that is a Titan testing people's heart space. Some of your Peruvian cases where people have seen a naked woman standing up by Machu Picchu, that's some of your cultures alien cultures testing people's heart spaces as to would they rescue a wayward stranger standing cold, naked in the middle of nowhere. So it is actually a combination of all of these things. Resurrection Mary is the case that we're thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. Same type of situation. So I hope this helped.
Yeah. One final question. I just want you to leave all the viewers this time of year, even talking about certain things. People are playing Ouija boards this sort of year. Even talk, like I said, speaking of certain things, researching certain things. What are ways that people can protect themselves during this Halloween season?
Yes, not being on a Ouija board is one of them. Staying grounded at all times, keeping your core self intact. What is you and what is not you? What do you truly know about yourself and what you do not? That is some of the best protection. Also, envisioning an armor around you that is of an infinite nature, or a charcoal distortion around you that will confuse any and all bad guys and negative spirits, but also negative entities. And ghosts. But in this case, don't co-create, and this is a stronger one. Do not co-create that, oh, something happens always at this time of year to you. Now, if you're on the hunt for paranormal activity, keep yourself protected. And if you're fascinated with this particular vocation, as you two are, myself included in this, make sure that your psionic field does not necessarily self-farm any doom of any entities or beings and or ghost spirits following you home and or luring you out into the woods, and you are now one of the missing people. You see. So,
Yeah,
my
Mission
people
411.
Squatch are blamed for missing people. That is not true. It is sometimes these troll-like ones, like your skunk ape falls into this, but face eater trolls do this, and also your own military and also reptilian forms do this. Just saying, but I digress.
Yeah, thank you. I love that information. Thank you for popping through.
Hmm. Any more questions for myself?
Nope. Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
Hmm. All right. Thank you. I thank you for having me on, and I'm always to you all.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. Yeah,
That
he's
was
a good guy.
interesting.
He's a good one. Yeah, he reminds me, if anybody saw the Narnia movie series, the character of Professor Diggory in the Narnia, the Witch, the Lion, and the Wardrobe, the character that I believe that creates the wardrobe, and that guy is very similar to Hajime. The character has a similar look. It's just that character's not a forest person, not covered in hair, mind you, uh, but that the character of Degori is very similar to Hajime. People want to
Hmm.
reference. A movie reference. And I found that out very recently when I looked into what the characters looked like. He said he was represented in a movie and
Hmm.
teaches within like almost like a Harry Potter-esque type Hogwarts type situation. It's like if a forest person was teaching at Hogwarts, let's just put it that way. But he wasn't in the Harry Potter references or lore or anything. He said he was in some reference, and we found out it was Narnia. So yeah,
Huh.
I thought that was actually pretty cool. We found out.
I'll have to watch those again. I remember reading those books back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read them all, but I read two, three of them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh yeah,
Chronicles of Narnia.
yeah. I never got into it. We're gonna try to watch through them and report on stuff we find in it. But yeah, maybe that's another thing to do for a conspiracy sector at some point is look for some maybe.
Actually, you know what I think that we should do too
Mm.
is I think if you viewers would like it is like I thought about for a creepy Christmas we discuss all of our own our favorite paranormal events that have happened to us in our life.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, and if people want to hear this, let us know. Also we have our Thanksgiving episode we do as well. So if if you want to see also creepy holiday episode or paranormal holiday episode, let us know if you want to see that in the
I
comments.
thought that you guys might like an insight to our minds and what we've experienced in our lives, and we'll just dedicate a show to talk about all of it.
I think that's a great idea, actually.
Uh,
Aubrey, I don't know if you have anything else to add till we take.
nope, I hope everybody has a nice Halloween. You get lots of candy and tricks and treats. Until next time, we will see you on the other side.
And you are now leaving the conspiracy sector. So thank you, everybody. Bye bye now.
Adios.